All right, I'm gonna do a quick video of a couple watches. The first one to talk about is it's called Timex Expedition. Um, and then the second one is a Timex Transit in the negative quartz, I think they would call that. I couldn't find a video that really compared the two of these online, or really anyone who had done a direct comparison of the two. I think it's worthwhile since they are both kind of in the same price range, and if you're just an everyday dad like myself, you may be considering one of these. I do have an Apple Watch, I have a Samsung Galaxy Watch, but sometimes I just want to wear a simple watch and kind of unplug from all the notifications, pay attention to the kids a little more, not being bothered by a buzzing wrist all the time. So that's the perspective that I'll have when I look at these. Is just your average dad needs a wristwatch. And so if you're the super track athlete, then you may have a different preference at the end of the day, but you may also find the video interesting. I'll tell you right away, my preference for the everyday dad is the Expedition. If you are the track athlete kind of person, the Ironman Transit's going to be a little more interesting to you, although I would not get the negative. In that case, I would go with one of the positive, the white background screens. The negative is going to look cool, but if you're doing a lot of outdoor sports, the negative is going to be hard to read in the sunlight. So let's take a quick look at these. Okay, so I think something that's going to be just abundantly obvious, these two watches are laying side by side. Now, the Timex Ironman Transit does have the original band on it. My Expedition, I had to put a replacement band on because I wanted to add an extra hole, and I accidentally cut the band in half. The band that comes on this is actually very nice, and there's no need to replace it unless you're like me and try to modify it. But what's going to be really clear is that black quartz, all the reviews and videos and things I found online kind of talking about this, and I'll slide them so you can kind of see them in the same light, seem to indicate that the black quartz was easy to read. It's not. It is, I shouldn't say that. It is, if it's right on like this, it's easy. But as soon as you angle out, it gets hard to read. I'm in my office. In direct sunlight, it's worse. The basic screen, your classic digital watch screen, that's going to be the easier watch to use in the everyday of life, where you don't have to worry about having the angle just right. If you're out in the trout stream doing dad stuff, you're going to be able to read that on your wrist really easily without having to bring it up front and center. This guy, if you don't make sure it's perpendicular to you, it's hard to read it. Size-wise, they're very similar in size. I would say the Ironman Transit maybe is a little thicker, but not much. You can see here that the size is actually really comparable. If we try to line up the pins, you can see here, I can get them lined up. I mean, they're pretty similar, right? The Transit's a little bigger, but I mean, not much. It's not significant. I would say they're in the same size category. Number display is a little bigger on the Transit. It's got a little bit bigger screen. That may be a perk for you. The numbers on the Expedition are quite large as well. And so I don't think it's a huge factor either way. Now, both watches do have a dual time zone. So let me walk through the features of the Expedition. So you can hit this button here, and it'll display your second time zone. If you want to flip that time zone to your primary, you press and hold, and it beep now, and now that is my primary. Then I hold it again to flip back to T1 as my primary, and now back to T1 as primary. Press and hold set to set the time. You have different modes. Here's a chrono, your timer, I have that set to 28 minutes, and you can kind of just leave that set. It's very handy. I actually think this is more handy than my Apple Watch for timing things for the kids and be like, hey, we're going in a half hour, etc. And then this is the big perk for the dads. You have 3 alarms on this watch. I have an 8 a.m. alarm. I have an alarm 2 that's currently set to 7 a.m. and an alarm 3 that's set to, I use the 24-hour, this is 8 p.m. 8 p.m. bedtime for the kids. Turn that on, and it goes off at 8 p.m. every night. So when my 3-year-old hears the watch beep, he knows it is time for bed. So I use the first one as a wake-up alarm when I need it. My second alarm is a floating alarm, and that third alarm is my kid's bedtime alarm. So that's pretty handy if your kids are into timers and whatnot. The date and time, the date and day of the week format are nicely displayed on both. The LCD on this is very clear. When your clock's on, timer's on it, the little icons over here are very easy to read. If you have the AM, PM, little P will show up there, but I'm using a 24-hour time format, so AM, PM is never needed to be displayed. On the chrono, which is just a stopwatch, you can hit the start button, and when you do your split, it's going to display your split time, and then it's going to display your lap there. So, and then after a few seconds, it's going to continue. And you can flip this so either your split or your total time is displayed in either position. And you can see we're on lap 2. We're on 21 seconds, and our total time's at 25. If we hit that split again, the total time we were at was 27:77, and then our lap time was at 25. So you can kind of just see how that's going to work. Okay, so now on this one, when you stop, you're just going to see your current lap time and your total time. That's it. There's no recalling this. And then you press and hold to reset. And it gives you clear instructions always. So that's really nice. Timers are also pretty easy to do. Just hit your set button. You can set the hours, minutes, seconds. Okay. And then at the end, you can tell it to do different things. You can tell it to stop at the end. We could tell it to repeat at the end. Okay, I like it to stop at the end. And that's it. So pretty easy. And then your alarms, once they're set, you can just hit these buttons here to tell it weekends off, right? And that's how that one's set up. If I go to, and you set that when you do the set, you'll select your weekdays or weekends, and then like this one's set for daily. So if I hit this, either of these buttons will turn it on and off, and it'll just switch to what you set it for when you're in the set function. I have this one set for daily. So you can do daily, weekends, or weekdays. Those are your options when you set up the alarm. Okay. The light is this Indiglow button here. Don't know. Okay, you can kind of see that. It works well. If you press and hold the Indiglow button, it'll beep, and now you have a little moon, and you can see that the watch is lit. Now it's not, but whenever you push any button, it's now going to activate the light for you. So that's how you would switch it into a nighttime mode. Otherwise, if I don't typically use that, but you have that ability. Okay, on this one, so it's got that black screen. To me, that's tough to read in a lot of lighting situations, but it certainly does look cool. It just feels chunkier. It feels a little heftier in size. I'm not a big fan of bulky watches, so it's not my thing, but if you like big watches, this might be yours. That screen is large. That's nice. Let's go through some features. There's the chronograph, the timer, the alarm, and that's it. So you do not get 3 alarms on this one, and that is why I think it's better suited to the athlete or someone who maybe doesn't have kids. It doesn't need extra alarms. As a dad, I like having the 3 alarms. What you do get with this one is the ability to do a recall. So if you go into your chrono and then you start, and you can hit your lap button, and it's going to do a similar thing there. This one, I think they're flipped right now, so the total time is down here and the lap time's up top. Let me do it again. Okay. And then you can go into this recall, and you can see the stuff down here, to me, is very hard to read. The text is not as clear and sharp. It's kind of like half faded into the black and stuff. It's pretty tough, but you can okay, this is another issue I've had with this one is, there we go. To me, it's a little bit confusing to use. So here we can flip through our different laps with the plus minus. They're hard to see, but there's a minus on this button and a plus on the white button. And then I think if we hold the reset, well, maybe not. Okay. Anyways, this is why I don't like this one. Honestly, it's not intuitive to use. You have a timer, just 1 timer and 1 alarm. So those are the features. You know, as we tip this, you can just kind of see how quickly that fades. Now, the left to right tip, not as bad, but typically you're dealing with a wrist rotation more than this. So to me, that's just not functional. If I look at this one, we do a tip test. You know, you lose visibility when the indigo button is getting in your way. You know, it's very readable, and the side to side, there's no issue. Both of these are a very soft glow compared to a smartwatch when you turn the light on at night. As far as the bands go, the original band that comes with this is very nice. I think I've got it laying over here. It's in this bag so I don't lose it. It's nice. You can see I was trying to add a hole there, and I cut it in half. What I have on here right now is a De Beer NATO style. It's their RAF style, so it's only a single pass through. I really like this band. It's very nice, very comfortable, and the tag is the tail end here. It's very easy to fold back and tuck, so it's not sticking out. This resin, you know, people have complained about it. It is a little stiff. It's not as supple as like the silicone on an Apple Watch or something, but I think it would be very comfortable. And it does have that locking mechanism for the tail, where you can see there's that bump in there, and that will tuck into here when you're tucking your tail away, and you can see that they stay together nicely. So that's very nice. I'd have no issue with that. So, okay, there you have it. You may want to get this in not the green. It's a little bit harder to do, you know, if you're going to switch the straps out. One thing to note, this is an 18 millimeter strap. This is a 20 millimeter strap. So if you're like, well, what's the difference there? It's about that much. Okay. So when you order your straps for the Expedition, you got to get an 18. If you get the Timex Ironman Transit, it will take a 20 millimeter strap. This does have the interchangeable straps. You can see here that's cut out for the spring bars. You could take these straps off, put a NATO strap on this, and if that's your thing. I wouldn't have changed the strap on this watch had I not cut it in half. Now that I've done it, I really like this NATO style strap, a single pass-through one. I haven't tried a double, but it's very nice. I probably still wouldn't have just changed it until the strap was getting worn, because the original strap worked just fine. So there you go. These are the 2 watches, and I'm just gonna lay them here so you can kind of see. I'm gonna tip this up so you can see the readability as I come past. So they're laying next to each other. To me, the Expedition is a clear winner. because I need my watch to be readable. I need those 3 alarms is very handy. And the menus are a lot simpler. I find this watch is just easier to navigate. This one a little bit harder to navigate. So I guess just bear that in mind. You know, if this one had that light screen, the readability would be there. So that's something to consider if you just don't order that black negative background, and it would be just as readable as this one with a little bit larger font. And that would be wonderful. Except for the lack of the alarms. I would prefer the 3 alarms. I mean, it might be nice to be able to recall the laps on here, but to be honest, I just really don't care about that for my use. But if you're an athlete and you want to know exactly what your lap splits were, then you know, some of the Ironman versions of the Timex are going to be a better choice for you. Okay, so that is my review of these two, the comparison between them. I think they both look plenty durable. They're both pretty light. This Timex Ironman Transit is heavier by significant margin than this Expedition. Like, honestly, it feels like it weighs almost twice as much. But you know, by watch standards, they're pretty light, especially compared to a lot of smartwatches. They're both quite light. So, but this one is a lot lighter.